For the first time in 3 years, Samsung is going down market with the Note line, releasing a budget alternative of the Note 3. This is Daniel from Phone Arena with a quick first look of how the new mid-range Note fares against the Note 3 flagship. This light edition here scales down on specs, sporting a 5.5-inch 720p display instead of the 5.7 1080p one on the Note 3. It has a slower processor, 2GB of RAM instead of 3, and an 8-megapixel camera on the back instead of the 13-megapixel here. On the other hand, as you can see, it has identical design, software features, and the venerable S Pen stylus. We also get a large 3100 mAh battery that is just shy of the 3200 unit in the Note 3. So let's recap what to expect from a Note 3 Lite versus Note 3 comparison. Samsung's mid-range version of the Note comes shorter and less wide than the Note 3, as you can see, but not by much at all. Still, that makes it more pocket-friendly and easier to operate with one hand than the typical phablets of late, despite the hearty 5.5-inch display. Just like with the Note 3, the outer appearance is done in the new Samsung stylistic of metal imitating side rim and a removable back cover that resembles notebook leather, stitching accents on the edge and all. This removable back cover means you can quickly swap with a spare battery and add more storage in the best of Samsung's traditions. We have the S Pen stylus tucked the same way you'd find it on the Note 3 at the lower right corner. And overall the handsets looks scream, hey, I'm a Note 2, I'm just smaller. Samsung's new phablet sports a 5.5-inch 720 by 1280 pixels of resolution display, resulting in 267 ppi pixel density. This panel is also the biggest difference when you compare it to the 5.7-inch 1080p screen of the flagship Note 3 that flaunts a 386 ppi pixel count. The HD resolution means that detail won't be as defined and doodling won't look as precise as on the Full HD display of the Note 3. The panel is still of the Super AMOLED variety, just like on the flagship, so it will offer you oversaturated, somewhat cold colors, deep blacks, and excellent viewing angles. Both Notes are loaded with Samsung's TouchWiz Nature UX on top of Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, but we hope to see KitKat on them shortly. With Nature UX, however, the most apparent visual differences that KitKat brings, like a transparent status bar and full-screen wallpaper, are present stock, so there's not much of a surface difference at first look at all. Still, on both handsets you can expect all the bells and whistles that come with Samsung's homemade interface overlay, like Smart Stay, which keeps the screen on while you're looking at it, and the multi-window mode that can run 2 different apps on a split screen. You can open the gallery and then open messages or chat underneath it and comment on the pictures, for example. The possibilities are endless here. And the display size of the 2 Notes is very conducive to multitasking. When you add the S Pen apps to the mix, the handset's becoming a league of their own. Stylus offers the excellent S Note application, various drawing and annotating functions in the gallery or calendar, as well as this air view and air gestures that let you hover above the display with a stylus or a finger. And you can be marking links and evoking pop-up info in no time. We have a new kit on the Exynos block, and it is the Hexa-core CPU found in the Note 3 Lite. That has 2 Cortex-A15 cores clocked at 1.7 GHz maximums and 4 Cortex-A9s clocked at 1.3. The new Exynos is paired with a decent graphics processor too, ARM's Mali T624, so it's unlikely you'll have interface or app lag hiccups, though for heavy 3D games it might be throttling their effects down. Still, the Hexa-core Exynos here is clocked much slower than the 2.3 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 800 or the 1.9 GHz Exynos 5 Octa versions of the Note 3, so the difference in benchmarks is poised to be very significant in favor of the flagship. Same goes for the graphics processor, which is likely to be faster than Mali 400 in the Note 2, but weaker than the Adreno 330 or Mali T628 that can be found in the Note 3. Samsung has put 2GB of RAM in its smaller phablet compared to the record 3GB on the Note 3. yet you still can line up many apps open at the same time on both without slowing them down. There's 16 gigabytes of internal memory, plus a micro SD slot for storage expansion on the handsets. The 8 megapixel camera on the back of the Humble Note 3 has an LED flash underneath it, and there's also a 1.9 megapixel front-facing shooter for video chat. It's pretty quick to focus. The larger brother sports a 13 megapixel shooter on the rear. Samsung's interface offers an abundance of shooting modes like HDR or panorama. On the Note 3, they're arranged in this grid mode, and on the more compact Note 3 Lite, on this easy to flip through carousel, we also get plenty of color effects you can apply to your pictures and videos. We won't comment on the samples quality from our prototype compact Note 3 unit. It's a non-finalized version of the phablet. What we're seeing though is pretty encouraging for the retail phone. While the Note 3 has already proven to be one of the best phone cameras around, it is able to capture 4K video recordings, while the smaller Note 3 Lite makes do with 1080p video footage, and both do it with fluid 30 frames per second. The smaller Note 3 is likely to be as successful in terms of sales as the flagship, since it aims for those who want a Note 3 but are deterred by its price or the size. The budget model doesn't sacrifice too much, save for the screen resolution and a slower processor, and since Samsung has graced it with the full S Pen functionality, the mid-range phablet seems destined to become one of the best value for money propositions in this category. This was a quick first look between a prototype, Samsung Galaxy Note 3 Lite, also known as Neo, and Note 3 flagship. For more information and comparisons, you can visit us at phonearena.com. Thanks for watching.